Hi, I'm Tenille Jensen, and today I'm going to discuss the differences of using plastic bags versus paper bags. To start with, I think in order to make a really conscious decision of which bag to choose, you need to go right back to the beginning of how each bag is made. If you take a look at a plastic bag is basically actually plastics are byproducts of refined oil. That refined oil is then molded into just about anything we want. And surprisingly, and I thought this was a really interesting fact, that plastics only use about 4% of the total world's oil, which, like I said, is fascinating because it seems like everything today is made out of plastic. Plastic is a really durable product. You can shape it, you can mold it, you can melt it, you can make it any size, any color. It can be airtight, it can be watertight. It can also be UV resistant. So it's very durable. It can be used over and over and over again. Once the plastic bag has been used, there's two places that it can go. It can go to a landfill or it can go to a recycling center. Now, if it goes to a landfill, yes, the downside is it's probably going to sit in the landfill, but it doesn't take up that much space. It's not as much space as you think it would take as opposed to paper, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But if it goes to a recycling center, again, it can be processed, it can be melted and made into something else, which is kind of a really amazing thing that happens. And so, the thing about plastic bags is it's not the plastic bag, it's the person using the plastic bag that gives it such a bad name. Plastic bags have the ability to be recycled, but it's your responsibility, the person using the bag, to recycle it. So yes, you do have to go an extra step if you want to dispose of that plastic bag properly, but it leaves less impact on the environment. Now, if you take a look at paper bags, the difference is that yes, it's a biodegradable product and it does decompose. It will go away. But the problem with processing paper is that there's a lot of things that impact the environment from start to finish. I mean, right out the gate, you're chopping down acres and acres of trees. I mean, FYI here, we need trees. That's just it seems very silly to me that people would chop down so many trees just to have a handy little bag to carry their groceries home. Of course, people don't think about that when they're in the grocery store, but if they did, they would realize that once those trees are cut down, all of the nature that relies on those trees, including the animals, have to be relocated somewhere. And, that is kind of a hiccup in the cycle of nature. That's really not supposed to happen. And then once all those trees are cut, then we have to build roads to go get those logs. And we have to hire people to go get those logs. And if anybody knows anything about logging, it's a very dangerous job. It's not easy. There's a lot of safety hazards. So like right out the gate, 1, 2, and 3, you're tearing down trees, you're removing nature, you're putting people's lives in danger. It's kind of one of those things, is it really worth it? But yet we still keep going. So once we get to the process of getting the logs to the log mill, we have to mash it all down and let it soak in sulfuric acid for about 8 hours. Then we have to use gallons and gallons and gallons of water to rinse it and then, process it and then ship it out, which, to ship it out is costly. Again, you're using more heavy machinery to transport those items that weigh a lot. Once you get it to the store and the bag is used, then again, just like plastic, it has two places to go. It can either go to the landfill where it can decompose. And the thing about paper is paper takes up a lot of space and it weighs a lot. So in comparison to plastic, where, plastic takes up maybe a 1/4 inch, where, paper could take up to a foot. And just to give you kind of a measurement of how the differences of how much it can take up, it's one of those things. It's a waste product that takes up a lot of space and a lot of time to get rid of. Another thing, if you take it to the recycling center, it doesn't just decompose there. It's a process to recycle paper products because of the chemicals that have been put on the paper bag have to be stripped of that before the recycling center can dispose of the pulp. Now, once they strip all those chemicals off, you have a vat of chemicals. Well, then what are we going to do with that? We have to dilute it, which again uses tons and tons of water, which, you know, pretty soon we might not have a lot more left. But so if you really look at the difference between paper and plastic, although it seems very foreign to put your food items or whatever items you have from the store in a product that will never go away, the upside of that, like I said before, is it's reusable. And it is something that you need to be responsible with. If you're going to use a paper bag, you need to understand that, you know, there is a ripple effect happening in the environment because of that paper bag. And so if you, like I said, if you really think about it, tons of acres being torn down or melting plastic again. I don't know. Seems like an easy decision to me. But on a side note, as much as I love to debate the fact of plastic versus paper, ultimately we need to be responsible for taking care of our earth and realizing that, you know, if we fill your earth with garbage, you're going to start living in garbage. And we need to really take a look at what we're using and how we're using it and what we're going to do with it when we're done. And the best alternative to that is to reuse, recycle, and repurpose.